yesterday, we've been hearing about technology and how it's going to change our lives and all the great benefits that we will get from it. And the world is actually being shaped by technology. Right? I mean, today, every aspect of our life is sort of has a technology element to it. And technology has brought us great benefits. Right? I can go on and on about these benefits. But along with these benefits, they also come risks. Right? And we've paid a price over the last decade or so. We paid a price for these benefits that we got, financially, mostly, but also perhaps personal lives have been destroyed because of many of the sort of cybersecurity issues or vulnerabilities that our technology sort of has brought to us. And the situation gets more complicated today when it's not just criminals and activists and hobbyists. I mean, the way this whole thing evolved was in the 1970s, some young graduate students sort of wrote a worm called the Morris worm, and from that point we've come a long way. Today it's nation states doing it to us, sometimes doing it to their own citizens, right? And so the threats that we face are now significantly stronger or more than what we seen in the past, and you don't see a letdown. And so how do you sort of face these threats, and what do you do in return? Of course, cybersecurity, we try to make the system secure. And I've been doing cybersecurity for a long time, and people ask me, what the hell are you guys been doing? Right? I point to the computer scientists, I say, they write vulnerable code, it's their problem. But cybersecurity is not easy, right? Over the years, we've learned how to build safe and reliable systems. For example, look at the air transportation system. It's amazing, if you think about it. Right? At any point in time, right now, there is this plane going down a runway, achieves phenomenal speeds and takes off and reaches phenomenal heights and reaches its destination with no problem. The chances of you dying in an air accident are lower than slipping in your bathroom and breaking your neck. That's a statistical fact. Right? So we know how to build safe and reliable systems, but this very same airplane had a very flimsy cockpit door that allowed the perpetrators of 9/11 to get in and take control of the plane. Right? It violates a very basic security policy. Right? If you think about it, least privilege, policy of least privilege, you don't want subjects to have access to certain resources if they don't have any business having access to it. So in hindsight, it's easy. Now what did we do? Well, we fixed the cockpit door. Now there's like fortified and it's not easy to kick it down. But then that same solution sort of creates a problem when recently, 2 years back, there was a German pilot who decided he's going to fly the airplane into a mountain and kill everybody, including himself. Right? You needed to kick that door down at that point, but you couldn't. So sort of security solutions are not straightforward. And it's just so that's just the point I'm trying to make. But in the physical world, before the cyber world took over our lives, we kind of learned over time to maintain a safe and secure society. We've been doing this for 1,000 years now, more than that, thousands of years, right? And we know how to set norms in society, and yeah, there are people who break the norms. There are always people who will break the norms. And in fact, we need people who break the norms, because if everybody follows the rules, we'll have a very stagnant society. Right? But we sort of control, or we kind of handle this breaking norm sort of process. It's limited, right? And how do we do that? Well, first thing is through sort of a moral code, do the right thing, right? Whether it be within a religious framework or or other norms of a community, of a company, or whatever it may be, we teach people to do the right thing, and we've evolved, right? I mean, evolutionary psychologists will talk about how we've evolved to be people who follow the norms, otherwise we couldn't like coalesce and move forward as a society, as a group of people. So we do that, right? That helps. And then we also have institutions, right, that enforce these norms to some extent. We have justice systems, we have legal system, we have law enforcement system, and of course they are applicable within a boundary of some sort, within the region, right, country, state, whatever that may be. But we use them and we limit the breaking norms kind of phenomenon, right? So that we have. And then we have a reputation, right? You don't do a good deal with me, you cheat me, I'm not going to work with you again, right? So and people sort of are motivated to behave and do the right thing because they don't want to destroy their own reputation if they want to live and coexist in society, right? So these are kind of broad mechanisms, say, we use in order to kind of maintain some sort of law and order or some sort of rules in society, norms, right? But why can't we do this in cyber, right? Well, there's no common moral code. Your God is not my God. In fact, I hate your God, right? Or something of that sort. So there's no common moral code because cyber has broken boundaries. There is no notion of a boundary in cyberspace today as we have architected it, right? It may change in the future, I don't know, but there is no boundary. And there are no global institutions, right, that can enforce the law. There is no common law across countries. They talk about coming up with sort of treaties and things of that sort, but we lack them, and we lack mechanisms to enforce them. There's some progress, but not really. And then there is the notion of identity is very hard to establish in cyberspace. Right? We say X is hacking country Y, but attribution, believe me, is very hard. Right? Typically, it's only done by intelligence, right? Because you knew country X did it to you because you had a spy sitting in country X who gave you that information. Otherwise, technically, attribution is very hard, right? Because in cyberspace, it's very hard to sort of track down the path, and techniques of attackers and things like that can all be copied, right? So establishing a strong identity we need, because we do that in the physical world to enforce our laws. It's very hard to do that in the cyber world. Right? And then, of course, the good old problems of complexity. Not only operating systems have millions and tens of millions of lines of code, right? And they have libraries and packages that are all pulled in, which we don't even know what they have, right? And then hardware also is becoming more and more complex. Billions of gates, right? And now, so complexity is a big enemy of security. And then also the supply chain is becoming a problem today, as we are discovering, right? In the sense that you don't know where all the parts within your system came from and what do they really have. You don't know. And you almost have no chance of protecting it, right? Because the chip may have been manufactured in one country, the software was written in another country, who wrote them, what happened, you have very little idea. Right? And there have been instances where nations, right, I won't name names, have actually intercepted routers and implanted stuff in them in the Federal Express, whatever. So it's very hard to trust the equipment that you're working with, right? Because the supply chain itself is so global and it can be compromised. And then users have a lack of awareness, lack of education, and also we don't have the physical cues, right? In the physical world, we kind of evolved to be able to gauge threat, right? To gauge risk. We look at someone, or we go into a dark alley, or we see that tiger in the background, or whatever. We evolved to be able to gauge threats in the physical world. In the cyber world, I press a button, good things happen. Why don't I keep pressing buttons? I mean, no problem. Right? Phishing attacks, for example, is still the dominant way of breaking into a system. The NSA director, right, Rob Joyce, who's in charge of what they call tailored access operations. It's a euphemism for tell me where you want to break in, I'll get you in there. That's his job, right? And he basically said that 0 days are overrated. 0 days are exploits that are unknown to anybody, right? Your secret exploit. He said, people just get in by phishing, right? You ask them for their password nicely and they give it to you. And then you get in and then you do slowly sort of do whatever you need to do. So these are the problems that make cyber sort of vulnerable today, I think, at the core, right? And it's not easy to fix it. And then things are getting worse. This whole business of misinformation or disinformation or fake news is going to be a big problem. Right? So far, we've been focusing on confidentiality, right? We were protecting confidentiality. We didn't want our data to be stolen. We didn't want our credit card number, social security number, blah, 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 bank account number to be stolen. So confidentiality was an issue, but tomorrow's issue is going to be integrity. Right? Truth itself will be attacked. And when truth is attacked and we can't trust what we see, what we hear, what we read, that will be a problem in society. Right? Because it's trust that binds society, and it's trust that allows us to function smoothly and efficiently. And when there's lack of trust, you have to pay a price. Security. Things don't happen. Right? So one of the big sort of threats coming down our way is this whole business of disinformation. We now have the ability to create a video of anybody doing almost anything. Right? And there are actually services out there where you can upload a picture, right? And you can get the picture back without the clothes of the person in the picture. Now, you might think that, well, and of course, all in the political arena, what all happens, right? But I think, so you can talk about damage in that space, but there is also the notion of not believing what you saw, right? The world, we have, the visual scenes have moved the world. The image of that young man standing in front of the tank in Tiananmen Square and not letting the tank move forward. Visions of us reaching the moon, right? Video of us, man landing on the moon. Video of the horrors in the concentration camps, pictures of that. That moved us as a society. And tomorrow, if you can't believe any picture that you see, what sort of it's going to be? It'll have a detrimental effect on us. And then, of course, the whole business of IoT devices, cyber physical systems, we are connecting. We talk about smart cities and grid and transportation system, and these will be vulnerable. Why will they be vulnerable? Because they'll be consisting of cheap devices made all over the world and who knows what's in it, right? And when these things are vulnerable, people will die, right? When there is a vulnerability in a transportation system, when somebody hacks in and makes the train crash, people die. So far, cybersecurity problems have led to financial issues, but tomorrow's cybersecurity problems will lead to sort of deaths, right? Disasters, physical disasters. So that's a possibility coming in our direction. The other issue that's coming in our direction is the hardware itself that we built. So we only bothered about vulnerabilities in software, like this bug, that bug. We don't know how to write secure software. But even the hardware, every Intel processor was shown to be vulnerable to the Meltdown and Spectre vulnerabilities, right? And there's nothing we can do about it. There's almost no fix to it, right? So it's a problem. We are good at, and then there's no talk about quantum computing. If quantum computing perhaps comes in the near future or in the middle term future, it'll break many of the crypto systems that we have in place today, right? So, and of course, we kind of have an idea how to defend against it. Privacy has become an issue with nation states snooping on our own citizens, right? And that's a problem happening. Countries are talking about requiring vendors to have backdoors. So I should be able to decrypt because they don't like encryption. That's a big problem, right? The moment backdoors will be there, the bad guys will be the first guys to get in before the government, right? And there is more and more cry. I mean, I remember the DA of New York City coming to me and showing me like 200 cell phones saying, I need to break into these, right? And because there's evidence in there. And he has a whole sort of file up he wrote and articles he wrote about why government has to mandate backdoors, right? And I think backdoors are a problem if they actually finally get adopted. stuck. What do I do? Is it a security problem? Or okay. And then there is also this whole business of AI and machine learning, right, which will do wonderful things, right? AI is great at differentiating between cats and dogs, right? We can do that with great accuracy. But it is not robust. It's not designed with a malicious adversary in mind. The attacker doesn't give normal input. The attacker gives very crafted, carefully crafted input which will break the system. And we don't even understand these black boxes that we're creating, these machine learning models. What is it that they do? And when they start failing, again, we will have problems, right? So I'm sorry I'm painting a very negative picture. There are good things we'll be able to do, but there are problems coming in our direction. So what do you do? I think we need to start designing systems assuming the bad guys are already in. We've been focusing on, and this has been talked about for a long time, and I'm just repeating same thing because nobody's doing it, or we're not doing it enough. We tend to sort of try to look at the doors and the windows, and we try to lock them up, and we say, okay, we won't let the bad guys come in. Guess what? The bad guys are already in. Now, assume that, now design your system, right? So you need to have that mentality. We also need to be scalable in the sense that there's a well-known security professional, Dan Gear, who made the statement that if security was a soccer game, it would be halftime and the score would be 5,000 to 4,000 because it's all offense. Defense is not able to do anything. Everybody's just scoring goals all the time, right? So why? Because defense is not scalable. In order to stop the bad guys, I need to plug every single hole, right? And the bad guy simply has to find one hole to get in. And that cannot sustain, right? So what can we do? We need to devise more scalable mechanisms, perhaps deception. And we've used deception. We have traps lying around. There is a door, the bad guy tries to open it, boom, they fall down. They're dead, right? Or we get to know them, or whatever. So there's a lack of enough techniques for deception. I believe that could help us. And also, why should we connect everything? Why should your refrigerator be connected to the internet? I don't understand. Right? So why should we? And in fact, the Undersecretary of the Navy, he had written an article called "Living on a Diet of Poisoned Fruit," and he advocates very strongly about simply disconnecting. Why is the nuclear plant connected? Let's disconnect it. It's okay. We won't use digital. We'll use analog. We'll use old technology. That's fine. We'll pay the price for it, but let it be disconnected, right? So we don't assume, because the risk is too high. And so that's something we should be asking ourselves. And yesterday I had mentioned we should be careful about the amount of data we collect because we've proven to everyone that we cannot protect data. We know we cannot do it, right? Let's not pretend that we can. The data gets out. So be careful about it. Treat it as toxic. Other thing what you do, maybe perhaps the government should start paying more attention to defending their citizens. Right now, the government sits on top of vulnerabilities. If there is an intelligence agency in your country, when they discover a vulnerability, they keep it secret. Why? Because they can break it and use it for spying. And that's what intelligence agencies do. That's a job. I'm not complaining about that. But by not disclosing vulnerabilities and actually holding them, they're actually creating a more dangerous situation, right? And in the physical world, it's the government that's responsible for maintaining law and order. In the cyber world, where is the government? Right? We are all left to our own. Now, Goldman Sachs or whatever, a big bank can protect themselves by spending the money and hiring the right people. But what about the mom and shop sort of coffee shop or mom and pop coffee shop or other small businesses or even middle-sized businesses? Who's helping them protect themselves? Time is up. So, and then there are other things you can do. And I think the most important thing you can do is education. Develop the right people. Right? I think security is not a problem that can be solved by technology. You can't simply buy a box that will make your network secure. You need people. And how do you get people? Well, there's a huge talent gap. How do you get people? Education. And I can talk about many things that the government could do here and has been doing in other countries about growing talent, finding talent and things of that sort, and a partnership between government, academia, and industry can actually cultivate and grow a lot of talent in cybersecurity, and these people can then help us protect our sort of assets or whatever. So let me stop there since time is up.